Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Kurian, Mr. Rajgopal, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Kumar, Mr. Bhatt, senior members of the executive committee, RAI members, senior retailers from Hyderabad, from Telangana. First of all, my sincere apologies. The event that we are having now, the summit, is directly conflicting with a very important webinar in which also I have to participate. So, I mean, this is normally I'm good at multitasking, but this is very, very kind of challenging. I just told them that I'm taking a 10 minutes pause and I'm speaking somewhere else and I'm rejoining. So it is a bit complicated, but nevertheless, I'm still very happy that even if it is for 10 minutes, I'm able to spend time with you, understand your issues, also give you a sense of confidence on behalf of the government that we are always supportive of your initiatives, etc. So first of all, I would like to congratulate be a time to look at how best the industry can utilize those opportunities. And my office had prepared some data points for this summit, and I was going through them. And one of the data point, which is very, very optimistic, which is very encouraging rather, mentions that in January, the sales which retailers had achieved throughout the country was almost 80% of the pre-pandemic time. So obviously normalcy is returning much, much faster. And it's only a matter of, I would imagine, a few weeks, if not more, that we will have complete normalcy. And in many sectors, we are also seeing a rebound effect. I mean, people who have not been able to travel travel quite a lot. People who have not taken holidays are taking holidays. And my guess is that people who were kind of deprived of opportunities to shop and support the retail activities, I'm sure there will be some kind of a rebound. So I won't be surprised if in the coming months, etc., we surpass even the best pre-COVID figures, etc. But at the same time, lots of new trends have been visible. People have experienced, all of us today, I'm sure there'll be no one in this room who has not started giving more preference to OTT platforms, etc., etc. And similarly, there are certain other lasting trends which are going to influence our behavior in the long term also. And in the retail sector also, the trends are quite clear now. What kind of things will happen, how much of online presence or online domination will take place. There was a concern, in fact, in the government also, there was a concern that when pandemic started, we permitted home deliveries. As you know, the retail was closed, but we had allowed home deliveries of essentials to begin with. There was a concern that what will happen to the local Kirana stores. As you know, every neighborhood typically has a Kirana store. And there was a concern about what will happen to them. But now we have seen certain good things emerge out of this crisis. One is that many Kirana stores themselves have adopted the digital path, and they are doing quite well. They have in Hyderabad itself, the government supported an initiative to convert 1,000 Kirana stores into digital stores, and it was done very, very kind of seamlessly. Similarly, we have also seen, all of you would be aware, it has become so kind of visible and so catchy these days, extremely hyper-local delivery. I mean, in 10 minutes, I will deliver this. In 15 minutes, I'll deliver that. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. And the existing Kirana stores are playing a very important point in the logistics chain of these kind of hyper-local delivery. So obviously their relevance also is getting increased, though in a different way. But the data that I have, again, as I said, put together by my office, shows that hyper-local delivery opportunities are actually going to enhance the incomes of those Kirana stores who are strategically located and who have the interest and inclination and of course physical scale and space to support these kind of hyper-local initiatives. So they are not going to be impacted in any adverse way. If at all anything happens, it will happen in a positive way itself. So as I said, how do you understand the trends that have happened in the last 2 years? How do you understand the power of digital? Most importantly, how do you look at omni-channel opportunities, which again was highlighted during this pandemic years? So as an association, you need to kind of look at opportunities. we have seen in many other sectors. See, I'm also the principal secretary for industries and the principal secretary for IT. We have seen that in the manufacturing sector also, there were certain sectors which were badly affected, and particularly those sectors whose supply chains were quite geographically far away. For example, the pharma industry, while there are lots of manufacturing pharma units here in Hyderabad, many of them get their raw material, many of them get it from outside the country, some of them get it from states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu. And during the lockdown times, they face challenges in getting raw material. Their production was impacted, their bottom lines were affected. And now they have found solution. There are some very innovative things that they do. Some of them have motivated their suppliers to start another unit locally. So instead of manufacturing it in Gujarat or Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu and then supplying, why don't you manufacture in Telangana itself? So that is something which is happening. Electronics industry is another example where these kind of things are happening. Another thing which a, a, another trend which we have seen is that many of these units, instead of independently placing orders, are now relying on a third party, basically an aggregator model. So an aggregator finds out how much of raw material is required in Hyderabad as a totality, and that aggregator takes the responsibility of bringing everything here and then supplying it to the end users, etc. So interesting things are happening in so many other sectors. And for retail also, there are possibilities of looking at how some of these challenges of logistics, etc., can be met. One thing which has assisted quite a lot in this logistics redevelopment, etc., is technology. So for an aggregator also, as you know, we have seen aggregators in so many other spaces. Technology is at their backbone. How do you consolidate the requirements? How do you do inventory management? How do you take care of just-in-time supply? How do you reduce costs without diluting on your deadlines and delivery schedules, etc. Technology is coming into this in a very, very large way. So this is an opportunity for retail industry also to work closely with technology players. And as many of you would know, Hyderabad is a very important center for technology. And apart from the presence of large companies, including some of the biggest global MNCs, we also are home to some very innovative startups. And if the industry wants us to help you by, let us say, running a startup challenge, identifying most innovative solutions which can support the industry, we will be happy to do so. So do think about it and let us know. We'll be happy to completely curate and identify high quality startups whose solutions can actually improve your outreach, your costing, your operations, and so on and so forth. So retail tech is something which we'll be very happy to support. Just when I entered this hall, I found that you were discussing certain challenges and certain kind of policy issues which you want to take up, I presume, with the help of the government. So I have seen what all you have put on those chart, and perhaps that was the most important chart which you wanted to come to my notice also. And I'm happy that due to good circumstances, I was there just in the nick of time. So I've seen all that you have put on the chart. Some of the issues related to GHMC, certain issues related to legal meteorology, certain issues related to licensing, and so on and so forth. So I assure you, you would have seen during pandemic times also that particularly in the third wave, which in some sense is still prevailing in certain other parts of the country. But in the third wave, our government decided to put no restrictions at all. There's no lockdown, there was no closure, there's no kind of restriction of any sort. And this was done with very considered view that we should not play with the livelihoods of hundreds and thousands and lakhs of people who are involved in the retail industry. So this is the kind of thinking the industry has, the government has towards the industry. And all the policy challenges that you have spoken about, each of them are solvable, each of them are doable. So what I'll advise is that since many of the association members who are from Hyderabad, they're also known to me personally, I would invite Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Kumar, and others to meet me separately in the office, and let us look at each of these issues in detail. And I also noticed there were a few Government of India related issues. For example, you spoke about the MSME recognition for the retail industry so that you get priority sector loans from banks, etc. But you were mentioning that it's not yet fully done. So I can also assure you that on certain matters where the Government of India is involved, we can also help you play a very important role in getting those decisions. We have been consistently doing this. In fact, many sectors, including the pharma sector, the aviation sector, etc., have benefited by our intervention with the ministries, and favorable decisions have come. So you can continue your national level advocacy efforts, but if a state government also speaks in your support, it gives a different dimension altogether. And as I said, our past experience of lobbying with the Government of India on behalf of the pharma industry, aerospace industry, etc., has been very, very successful. Even talking about retail, I won't take complete credit for Telangana government, but many of you would know that uh, these Government of India is bringing regulations for online for e-commerce companies. DPIIT has brought in certain regulations for e-commerce companies, and the draft regulations were circulated to the state government also. And we were one of the few governments. I'm not very sure which other governments also spoke in the same way, but we were very, very strong in demanding the compliance requirements to be reduced drastically. And I can tell you for sure that the Government of India has taken note of some of the points which we made as a government, and they have altered some of the guidelines. Earlier, the first draft of the e-commerce regulation guidelines were very, very kind of bureaucratic, cumbersome, and companies would have spent huge amount of time and effort just to meet all the compliance requirements. So we are supportive of all these kind of things. So as I said, on all the challenges, all the issues which the state government is which are in the state government's domain, let us have a separate sitting in which we give you a time-bound commitment that this issue will be resolved in these many weeks, this issue will be resolved in these many weeks. And also we call for a joint meeting. Suppose there's an issue which pertains to, let us say, the enforcement wing of the GHMC. We call them, we sit across the table. Very recently, some of you may be aware that there were some kind of restrictions put on the hospitality industry, particularly the pubs and all that. But within a day, we were able to get all the players across the table, and the issue was resolved in 24 hours. So we are confident that we will be able to provide similar support to the industry also. And I would also like to tell you that there are many other positive things also which we can do together. I already mentioned about this retail tech, that we are willing to support you by identifying innovative solutions which can help you in different parts of your operations. Last year, I remember, I don't recall when, but in one of our webinars which we had, in which also I had participated, I had told you about the rural malls that we are planning to develop in district headquarters, in division headquarters, in large mandal headquarters in the state. That idea still exists. I mean, because of this COVID and all, our attention was slightly kind of diverted, but we are willing to restart that entire thinking. And I remember in the last webinar which I had addressed with all the RAI members, I had mentioned this, that you give us a kind of a template, like how much of land is required for a rural mall, what should be the PPP model, what should be the revenue sharing model, what should be the dimensions of the mall, what all facilities should be there, should it be a mall along with a food court, along with play area, along with a function hall, what all should it be there, and how do you have revenue sharing across these different components. So we'll be happy to restart that dialogue. And if you can give us a template on this rural malls across the state, in fact, we have the green signal to look at least 100 malls to begin with. Because Telangana, as all of you would be knowing, you would have read these kind of statistics, that in the last 7 years, there has been an amazing increase in per capita income, in our GDP, and so on and so forth. The kind of prosperity which we only used to dream of, let us say that it exists in villages of Punjab and all that, we have surpassed all that. There has been an amazing increase in land values, land prices, even in the remotest mandal of the state. And today, many farmers, just by disposing some parts of their land, have been able to become quite wealthy. So there is huge amount of appetite and a captive market in the rural areas also. to enjoy the benefit of urban retail that all of us enjoy in a city like Hyderabad. So let us work together on these rural mall ideas. This is a concept which, in my opinion, is going to be a big success. And if the association is involved in it right from the planning stage, inception stage, and of course, many members of yours will also get opportunities to participate in the operations of these. So we'll be very delighted. The state government has been also taking some very important initiatives. You would be aware that, and some of your members will be from the e-commerce fraternity, or even if they are not directly from e-commerce, there will be people who will be having an omni-channel kind of an activity where digital is also involved. So we have taken some good initiatives in the last few months, which also will give you lots of encouragement. So for example, we have decided to create a portal called Made in Telangana. This is a portal of all Telangana products, and we are willing to provide links to all retailers of that respective category. So suppose you are into textile, the textile component of our Made in Telangana can be linked to you. So you can also source, you can also promote, you can also sell, you can take your commission, etc., etc. So this, again, that aggregating kind of requirement is fulfilled by us. So your costs in finding out the sources, etc., that goes down. That is offered to you directly. Similarly, Government of India has been talking about it. In fact, they have introduced it recently, a particular platform which is interoperable. See, right now, for example, if you have to sell on Amazon or Flipkart, both the buyer and the seller have to come on the same platform. But this is a new initiative of the ministry, Commerce Ministry, wherein they have created an interoperable platform. So Telangana is one of the early adopters. Even before the national government announced this platform, we had already initiated this kind of an activity, and little bit of backbone work has already been done by us. So again, this is something which you will benefit from. Rural Mall, as I already mentioned, is a very big and a very ambitious project for us. And as I said, involvement of the association with this initiative will be very beneficial for us. So once again, I'm glad that all of you are participating in this summit today. There will be many other issues also that you would like to discuss. Perhaps there are certain more things which you would like to flag for my attention. So as I said, I will have to rejoin the other webinar which is going on, but I'm always available. So even if I'm not able to spend much time with you today, I mean, don't feel disheartened or don't feel that I've kind of, I've given you lesser priority. I continue to give very high priority to you because you contribute so much to the GDP, you contribute so much to the employment. And the amazing thing is that many of your employees actually come from humble backgrounds with kind of lower educational qualifications from rural areas. And for them, if you're supporting them get a job, you are in a way blessing their families. In fact, in some families, there could be generational change because of the fact that you supported them, you gave them employment, etc. So we will always remain indebted to you for all the work that you do. But today you'll have to excuse me. I'm unfortunately caught in too many things right now. Will not be able to spend more time. But please see me as soon as it is possible. So thank you once again. Good wishes to all of you.